Welcome in to the B-Sides of Sports podcast. My name is Wilson. I'm one of your co-hosts alongside my partner Drake Howard. And today we're going to be debuting a new podcast segment called B-Sides Breakdown. Essentially what Drake and I wanted to do here was we kind of wanted to live react to a game that just happened and just give our initial thoughts, a quick breakdown of the game, some brief analysis, and maybe our thoughts moving forward. We're in the NBA playoffs right now, so it's going to be fitting that we are just concluding Game 3 of the Suns-Clippers matchup. So we'll give our thoughts on tonight's game as well as kind of our implications in the series moving forward. So Drake, start us off. What are your major takeaways tonight, and what do you really see going forward in the series?
Yeah, my main things the main things I really took away. Well, I always like when, we make ourselves look good with the takes we have, and us complimenting the crap out of Ty Lue to see him coach some of the best basketball all playoffs with the small ball lineup of Westbrook, Powell, Gordon, Bones, and Terrence Mann. The tallest guy on the court was 6'5". Meanwhile, the Suns had Durant and Ayton in, and that was how they cut the lead from 13 to 4, and then to only lose that game by 5 with your two best players out. To me, this just shows that if the Clippers can keep this core together, if this year's not the year, if they can just find a way to get healthy, be it in this playoffs or next year. I mean, with the coaching and the talent on the roster, they really are. I have slept on them all year, and I'm starting to realize that now.
Yeah, the Clippers' depth definitely gets a lot of shine, and I think what you saw today was in part because of Ty Lue's coaching style. All of the guys are ready. It really is that Warriors strength in numbers, next guy up mentality. To have guys like Robert Covington and Marcus Morris, come in, even just for spot minutes, is a really huge thing to be able to have coming off of your bench. And the small ball lineup that you pointed out is just absolutely incredible that they were able to survive out there. I think the thought in Ty Lue's mind there was to run an all-offense lineup, right? He might have thought, we're not going to be able to slow down the Suns very much, so just throw some aggressive trapping. Obviously, they were doubling the ball a lot of those possessions down the stretch, and just run 5 out, give Russ the spacing he needs to kind of attack downhill and just hope that our 3-point shooters can hit their shots. And it's a strategy that paid off, and until I think you saw the rebounding down the stretch got a little tough. There are a couple possessions where the Suns were able to fight for an extra possession or two, and when you've got guys like Booker and KD, it's just so hard to get stops.
Yeah, especially like you said, with second chance points, if a guy like Devin Booker or Kevin Durant misses once, probably not going to miss again if he gets a chance to get the ball back. And again, that's what the small ball did. It did give him the jump start, but not putting in Zubac a little earlier was kind of confusing to me. I'm also just really big on him. I just think what he does as a big is very old school, right? He really just fights for boards and is really good at creating space with his just massive body. I was a little confused why at the end, once they brought it close with the small ball, I get sticking with it, but I would have appreciated at least putting a center in. And I know I get not wanting to put Plumlee in. He really can't cover KD, and Ayton can bully him. But Zubac is, like I said, I think really highly of him. So I was a little confused by that and agree, as well as with the whole thing with facilitating the offense through Russell Westbrook and just kind of letting him. Because in the first half they struggled when they were doing that. I mean, he had like 5 turnovers and 7 assists in the first half. And then it just really was fighting through it. It was almost like he wasn't letting the basketball come to him, right? And that's always the joke with him, is it always looks like he's forcing everything to come to him, which, again, is great, and sometimes it hurts him, like in that first half. But it really did work, especially with Norman Powell playing so well. Bones Highland, again, having a fantastic night. Terrence Mann, I mean, they just had a lot of help and guys making shots, and that's exactly what they needed.
Yeah, and I don't want to bury the lead. Obviously, a lot of guys had spectacular performances tonight. Booker with 45 on 29 shots is incredible. And Norman Powell having 42, a playoff career high on just 23 shots. Again, incredible performances. I do want to hone in on the Sun side of this for just a brief moment. Obviously, we know the Clippers were missing Paul George and Kawhi, their two best wing defenders. And again, we saw kind of a passive KD in this game. Only took 15 shots. Obviously, he found his way to 28 points, but he did have a lot of free throws down the stretch when the Clippers were just kind of trying to survive those last 2 minutes of the game. And to me, I think it's not a question of when KD will become aggressive, but if the timing will fit this Suns timeline and being competitive in the West and making it out this year. We know the Suns depth is just absolutely atrocious. They're playing guys like TJ Warren, Damian Lee, and Landry Shamet off the bench. It's just not going to get it done. And to kind of press KD to play 40 plus minutes every single one of these games in the first round of the playoffs, I think KD has historically shown us the ability to play heavy minutes down the stretch, but the lack of aggressiveness while playing so many minutes is just really puzzling to me. And I wonder if KD starts to flip that switch into realizing when the Suns are going to need more of his offense, to what extent it's going to bother Booker, because we've really gotten to see Booker cook because KD really is deferring to him at any point in the game, largely down the stretch, KD's just going to stand in that left corner. And I don't know if that's something that's sustainable for the Suns moving forward, especially against different matchups. They might have to see the Warriors, the Lakers, even the Nuggets are going to present a plethora of different challenges that this super undermanned Clippers teams did not present tonight.
Yeah, and not to mention, you're talking about the future matchups. I think with Kawhi Leonard back, and I really think with Paul George back, this would be an ugly series for the Sun and kind of an ugly reality because, like you said, with a passive Kevin Durant and a aging Chris Paul, that was one of my biggest takeaways is Chris Paul is finally showing his age. It only took, 17 years in the league, but, I mean, you just see it now. He was missing so many shots. He wasn't as aggressive on the ball. He wasn't making all the insane passes he usually would. It just really felt like, it's sad to see these old guys get old and, have to retire. And I'm not saying Chris Paul is going to have to retire next year, but, you can just see it's the beginning of the end. It reminds me of Carmelo Anthony a few years back, where when you just saw that he could no longer do what he did best. And it's like, if Carmelo Anthony can't score on anyone, I'm not saying he has no value, but that's where most of his value that he made for himself was. If Chris Paul can't make wide open jumpers because Devin Booker and Durant are getting double teamed with that small ball lineup, that was a lot of it. I mean, you saw they were just running guys like torpedoes at Booker and Durant to try to force errant passes, but they kept finding Paul, and I mean, it really just felt like he kept missing only 5 of 18, and with Durant only shooting the ball 15 times, it is scary because at a certain point, when Booker's playing 44 minutes a game, if this series goes to 7, I mean, is he going to be able to be this efficient if he has to play 40 minutes for the next 4 or 5 games?
Absolutely. And what we saw was the small ball lineup really forced the Clippers to have to defend down the stretch, right? Every single one of those players could attack off the dribble, and the Suns defense really was collapsing down the stretch in large part because of tired legs. Chris Paul played 41 minutes this game, and I'm with you. If this series goes 6-7 games, I don't know if that's sustainable for Chris Paul. The last thing that really concerns me about the Suns within just this series is kind of their lack of 3-point shooting. Only took 27 again tonight in a game where the Warriors are taking 50 a night. And obviously the Kings and Warriors is being played at a much faster pace. You're only taking 27 threes when you've got KD, a guy who should be taking way more threes. I think that's been a career-long criticism of KD. Those contested mid-range shots that KD, Booker, and Chris Paul are all incredibly good at, those become harder to make as the playoff series goes on longer. You start to lose your legs a bit, and especially if they're going to be asked to play 40-plus minutes a night, I don't know if that's sustainable, especially when, you're going to get a guy in Kawhi back. Paul George obviously is out for the series, but Kawhi's really going to change the geometry of what the Suns defense is going to have to do, and I don't know if their current style of offense is going to be sustainable for a 7-game series.
No, and that's kind of my biggest thing, because Devin Booker right now is the best offensive player on the court, or at least that's what he's playing like. I mean, he just lights out shooting. It seems like every shot he takes is a good one, even if it's heavily contested. It reminds me a lot of what Mikal Bridges is doing in the Nets games, where it really feels like Devin Booker knows that KD's playing passive and Chris Paul's missing shots, so it's forcing him to take shots he usually wouldn't take, but he's taking them and making them at such a high clip you can't knock him. But again, if it goes to 6-7 series, forcing all of these contested jumpers might start to add up. So I just kind of agree that I think the Suns either need to win this series as soon as they can and hope they can go into the next round and have a little bit of their legs, or I think the longer this series goes, the more you'll realize the depth of the Clippers. Guys like the Morris brothers, or the Morris brother, excuse me, and Robert Covington, guys like that you don't even have to play. I mean, that's where you'll start to see them start to win.
Most definitely. And as we start to wrap up this kind of shorter podcast format in the breakdown, I want to ask, are you still going with your pick in the series? Any adjustments that you think either team needs to make? Personally, I think I'm going to stick with the Clippers in 7. I think the re-addition of Kawhi in Game 4, I think that has to be a win. And then down the stretch, everything we outlined with the concerns about the Suns, I think those are going to play a real factor. So I still like the Clippers in 7. I like the depth and I like Ty Lue.
No, I see, and I will be honest, this game, again, it showed me a lot of concerns I have about the Suns, but at the end of the day, Devin Booker is finally stepping up into the role a lot of people have thought he should have been at for a while. So if Devin Booker can play like this for the next 3 or 4 games, if Kawhi's not 100, it's just going to be hard for them to stop that. So I could see this either being a quick, 6 games to the Suns, or probably 7 to the Clippers is kind of what I'm still sticking with my Clippers prediction, but I'm now giving the Suns a lot more validity in winning this one.
Yeah, and this felt like the one the Clippers had to win. When you shoot the 3 as well as they did, you get that kind of a production out of Norman Powell, Russell Westbrook. I know they didn't have Kawhi, but it felt like this one would have really kind of shifted momentum in their favor. And so it's a tough loss, but what we've seen from this Clippers team is they're as resilient as they come. I don't doubt that we're going to see a spirited effort in Game 4.
No, I agree. And with that, I'm just going to leave on one final comment. Rob Covington, we talked about him in the last video. He played all of 4 minutes in this game.
4 minutes. That's our guy.
If Rob Covington has 1,000 fans, we are 2 of them. If he has 0 fans, we are dead. That is how it will be, and that's how it always should be.
Maybe he was the solution down the stretch. Maybe they should have put him in because he can shoot the 3. So
No,
I don't think he defends like he used to for our Sixers.
But anyways, with that, we're gonna wrap this one up. We hope you guys enjoy. This is a little bit newer than something, but we just thought we wanted to try it, and we hope you guys enjoy. Be sure to like and subscribe, as well as listen to the full version of our podcast, which will be down in the description below. And have a nice day.
See you next time.